Good evening. I must start by confessing it's been a very long day for Jensen first, and for me second. I think Jensen stayed up watching the Super Bowl yesterday, so excuse any mistakes we might make during the session. I'd like to start off, Jensen, by first asking you, what's your impression? What have you felt being in the UAE for a day? How do you feel about the country and probably the talent that is calling this country home?
Energy, ambition, scope, cold. I thought this was the desert. Apparently, you seeded the sky today. You did a very good job.
Well, it's not typically this way, but we advertise well. So we made sure the weather was to your liking.
I feel very at home.
So Jensen, let's start by really trying to understand what your vision is, not just for the company. I think you've expressed that very well. But talking to you before this, you mentioned that you started by focusing on gaming. And that focus on gaming really created an advantage that NVIDIA had that made it an industry leader. Today, you are the industry leader. For people who are working on healthcare, who are working on self-driving cars, who are working on other industry-specific applications, what do you think NVIDIA is going to do for them, and how is it going to change their lives?
Terrific question. I'll answer it in two parts. First, why the choice of computer graphics and gaming was such a good idea, and risky idea, but good idea. And then secondarily, vision for the future. So we wanted to start a company to pioneer a new way of doing computing called accelerated computing. We wanted to solve problems that normal computers cannot. We started the company in 1993. It was right in the middle, right in the beginning, if you will, of the CPU revolution. Intel was just taking off. Microsoft Windows was just about to take off. Windows 95 changed everything. NVIDIA was starting in 1993. Silicon Valley was all about computing, general purpose computing, CPUs, and how all of that was going to change technology. We felt that a lot of the world has already dedicated themselves to doing CPUs and general purpose computing. We could make a unique contribution to solve the problems that normal computers cannot. That strategy, as I described, the mission statement, as I described it, is a very difficult business strategy. And the reason for that is because if you're solving problems normal tools cannot solve, those problems also, those opportunities, if you tend not to be significant markets. They tend to be zero markets. If you don't have tools to create the market, why would there be a market? And so we went off to pioneer this accelerated computing nonetheless, and we thought, what is the killer app? What's the application that will drive it? And obviously that application must not exist, and it needed to be a very large market because in order to create a computing approach that is able to add value to the single largest technology force of all time, general purpose computing, CPUs, Moore's Law, in order to augment that, it must have tremendous R&D scale. It must have tremendous R&D dynamism. And so the question is, where do we find such a thing? And there lies the first great strategy of our company. And it's basically two ifs. If there was such a market as video games, and if 3D graphics was going to be the technology that made that possible, then everybody will be a gamer because video games could simulate anything, could simulate any game. If you enjoy soccer, it could be soccer. If you enjoy football, it could be football. If you enjoy, whatever it is you enjoy, it could be that. And it would be a very large market, and everybody would be in it. Now, today, video games is the single largest entertainment medium in the world, and just about everybody, a fairly young person, is a video gamer. And so out of 7.5 billion people in the world, we're up to 2 billion. We still have 5.5 to go, but I'm certain everybody will be a gamer. And so that strategy, of course, at the time was very dangerous and very risky because at the time, video games was $0 billion. 3D graphics for consumer computing was not possible. So we had to invent the technology, we had to invent the industry, and we had to invent people enjoying it. We've been advocating and evangelizing for video games for over 30 years to the point where people think we're a video game company. But it was really about enabling the first application of accelerated computing. Today it's now completely clear that CPUs has run its course. General purpose computing has really reached its end because Moore's law has slowed tremendously. And yet we have giant problems that we still want to solve with computers. And so the time has come for accelerated computing to take over, and that's what we're seeing. At the core of our business is accelerated computing growing immensely because general purpose computing has stopped. And we have $1 trillion worth of data centers around the world. I'm fairly certain now that in the next several years, every single data center, every single server will be an accelerated server. And it's the most energy efficient, most sustainable, most cost effective, as well as most performant. Imagine if you were to optimize an application for accelerated computing, just like for video games, we accelerate it, we make it possible to be 100 times better. And so when you accelerate data processing, Spark data processing, SQL data processing, it's 100 times better. When you accelerate molecular dynamic simulation, it's 100 times better. When you accelerate this new type of application called deep learning, it's even possible. And this model of computing is so effective that it enabled deep learning, it enabled large language models. And so now the question is, what's our vision? Our vision is simply this. All of the challenges that we thought in the past were too big, too great, too large scale, the computer simply can't solve it, is now within our grasp. It is now common sense that we can have a computer understand human language. Not just recognize the sounds, recognize the words, but understand the meaning of the words. If you can recognize something that's digitalized, because we digitized words, we digitized sound, we digitized images, and now we can understand images. We recognize cats, but we also understand the meaning of the image, that a cat is playing with a dog in a park on a sunny day. We understood the meaning of it. If you apply this common sense that we just said, that we can understand almost anything that we digitalized, then gene sequencing is the digitalization of human genomes, and therefore we can understand it. Amino acids that you digitalize using mass spec is now able to, now you've digitalized it with mass spec, you turned it into amino acid sequences, you can now understand that. So you can understand the meaning of proteins. You can understand the meaning of chemicals. You can based on all of that, you can understand the meaning of life, the meaning of the structure of life, and the meaning which leads to the understanding of the functionality of the biology, and then now understanding the meaning of chemicals. You can understand the meaning of the readings that we have in seismograms, in vibration systems, time series data, almost anything you can now understand the meaning of. Not just to recognize it, but to understand the meaning of it. And so a lot of the things that we used to feel that we couldn't understand or that we couldn't put our arms around because the computers are not fast enough, those problems are now all within reach.
And are you doing anything about it? Are you either supporting these companies or investing in them or building them yourselves? How are you working towards that future?
We think about accelerated computing, AI, and also the creation of these new markets in very similar ways. The structure of our company, the basic methodology of our company has gone back about 30 years. The first thing is to recognize that accelerated computing, just like AI, is a multi-stack problem. It's a chip problem, a systems problem, an AI model problem, as well as an application problem. Now that you have the ability to create these transformers that understand languages or transformers that understand proteins, how do the industries, how do the markets, how do companies take advantage of it? And so we work across the entire stack. People see us as building GPUs. It is true, we build the world's most advanced GPUs. GPUs are chips, and most people, they see chips, they see it, small chips that fits in an iPhone, or a chip that goes into a PC, or a CPU chip or something like that. But if you look at a GPU today, a GPU is 70 pounds. It's manufactured by robots. It has 35,000 parts. Most people can't lift it. I have no trouble, but it's very, very heavy. And one GPU will replace an entire small data center of CPUs. In fact, people save so much money on buying GPUs, because the performance is so great that it's cheaper than the cables that connect all the CPUs together. And that's the reason why there's a phrase, the more you buy, the more NVIDIA GPUs you buy, the more money you save. And the reason for that is because...
If you can buy them.
Well, you place your order, I'll take care of you. And so the GPU, the system, the AI models, of course, and we were talking about some of the AI models this morning, and then we have to inspire the industries above. We call that program, our startup program, we call Inception. We have many startups in this region that we work with who are either in digital biology, or they're creating new materials for better battery systems, or companies who are working on climate tech or robotics or such thing. And so we work across that entire stack.
GPUs as a service, will that help alleviate the problems with access to GPUs?
GPU as a service expanded the utilization of a GPU tremendously. When you buy a GPU, use it only for yourself, then when you're not using it, it's sitting idle. GPU as a service ensures almost that the GPU is utilized the entire time that it's been turned on. In fact, right now, GPU as a service is growing so fast. We sell $1 billion worth of GPU infrastructure. And that includes, for example, the chips, the systems, the networking, the switches. Our customers are buying $1 billion of them at a time. Before they even stand it up, they've already rented it for $4 billion. And so the demand for GPUs is incredible. Provisioning it as a service is really a great thing. And it keeps the utilization high. It also puts it in reach of everybody around the world. Once you put it in the cloud, anybody can use it.
What do you think the impact would be if the UAE invests in GPUs as a service here? For the scientists and the startups and the people in the room, how would it affect them?
Well, it's an imperative you do. It's absolutely an imperative that you do. In order to enable an ecosystem, people call this an industrial revolution because it is. The first industrial revolution that we know, you put water into the system, you apply energy to it, and what comes out of it is something invisible, like DC power. And that machine's called a dynamo. And about 80 years later or so, something like that, you applied water into it, and what comes out of it was something invisible, electrons, AC power. And now we have a new type of instrument. It's called an AI supercomputer. You put raw materials in. Now it's electrons going in, not atoms. Electrons go in, and these electrons are in the form of data, which is the data of any particular domain or region. And you apply energy to it. This region has an abundance of natural energy and sustainable energy. The energy ought to be applied to this super efficient way of doing computing. And what comes out of it, so now you have electron that goes into it, data, and what comes out of it is electrons. And these electrons are floating point numbers we call tokens or digital intelligence. And so now, for the very first time, we're manufacturing intelligence at scale. Just as we were manufacturing energy at scale in the past, we're now going to be manufacturing intelligence at scale. For a lot of people who are hearing this for the very first time, it sounds a little strange, but so was manufacturing electricity at the time. And that you could take this AC electricity, AC generator, produce these electrons, distribute it far and wide, and magically light turns on. You know, it's almost like we're remotely beaming light around the world. Well, we're now going to remotely beam intelligence around the world. It's going to be activated in every single industry, in every single company. Give me an example of one company who doesn't produce intelligence. We're now all going to take our intelligence, we're going to teach our own AI models, we're going to manufacture it in these intelligence generators. It's very common sense for us to have power generators as backup, power generators that we create for ourselves. Power generators are being created all over the world. In the very near future, intelligence generators, AI generators, we're going to be set up all over the world. It's a very sensible thing. And we'll create it for every single company, every single industry, every single region. And so this is going to be the next giant industry. I forget what question you asked. I got so excited.
Okay, I have a follow-up.
But it's very clear. You have to build the infrastructure here. If you don't build the internet, people can't become digitalized. If you don't build the infrastructure for AI industry cannot start.
What about data availability? Because you might have the GPUs.
Yeah.
If you don't have the data, what does that mean? And what do you think of synthetic data to be used to create the outputs that people are thinking about right now when data is not available?
Synthetic data is absolutely essential. In fact, it's almost there. It's largely there that the vast majority of the open internet data that's been scraped and crawled has been scraped and crawled. And so the next generation of models already has been trained on the vast majority of open data. Now, it is also the case that the world's, by an enormous amounts, the amount of data in the world that's available it's called dark data. It means it belongs to us. Most of the data I care about is inside NVIDIA. NVIDIA's intelligence, NVIDIA's value, NVIDIA's fundamental domain capabilities is not available on the internet. That's what makes NVIDIA special. Every company is the same way. Every successful company is the same way. The vast majority of the data that you need in order to do your work, the data that you need in order for you to make contribution to society is really inside your company. And then the rest of the data that's in every single region that is built upon your people's history, your common sense, your culture, your people's intelligence is codified, or it's the raw data of that is on your internet. And you should use that data to train your own AI model rather than export the data and then import your intelligence. So every region ought to be building its own AI. Now, after that, we still don't have enough data. And the truth of the matter is, well, if you just reflect for yourself, the vast majority of our day we spend learning, but a lot of our day we spend reflecting. When we're reflecting, we're essentially creating synthetic data. We're associating data, we're creating synthetic data, we're simulating. What if I were to do this? What if I were to do that? You're generating outcomes, synthetic outcomes in your mind, and you're learning from that. It is absolutely the case. We will use computer graphics, going back to the very beginning again. Using computer graphics, we could synthesize virtual worlds for video games. We're going to synthesize virtual worlds for training AI. And so what's a direct application for this? You know that for many people who are in the field of artificial intelligence, you know that one of the great breakthroughs wasn't just learning the data from using a transformer. It's about aligning that model using reinforcement learning human feedback. Reinforcement learning human feedback is a little bit the way that parents raise their children. You give them feedback on the actions that they take, and if the actions and the decisions and the analysis is consistent with what we believe to be good for aligned with our core values, we give them positive feedback. Otherwise, we give them negative feedback. This is no different than using RLHF, which we use for aligning large language models. Well, large language models don't obey the laws of physics. What if we're going to go into the future where we're generating drugs, engineering new drugs, or engineering new enzymes that could be used for drugs, or engineering a robotic system? Well, these systems all have to obey the laws of physics. And how do you, therefore, ground these AI models on the laws of physics? We use reinforcement learning, not human feedback, but reinforcement learning, physical feedback. And we put these AI models into a virtual world we call Omniverse that NVIDIA created. And these Omniverse worlds obey the laws of physics. You know, this bottle can't go through this couch. It obeys laws of physics. And so we create this world that's physically based, and AIs will learn how to improve themselves inside these virtual worlds. And they use reinforcement learning methods to do that. And when they learn how to be a good AI, for example, they can stand up, they can walk around, they pick up things, they could manipulate properly, interact with people, interact with the physical world in a good way. Then we can take that AI and we download it into a real robot. And that robot should be able to stand up, walk around, interact.
Can we expect in the future that we'll see a reinforcement learning chemistry, biology, like subsectors of science that actually can help us actually discover faster or move better, you know, in the realm of discoveries?
Absolutely. You're seeing this right now. Amazing companies being built all around the world that are using generative AI to given a prompt, we can tell a story. Okay, imagine this. Given a prompt, you can tell a story. Given a prompt and some initial conditions, maybe an image, you could create a beautiful image. Okay, why can't you therefore, given a prompt, and this prompt describes the properties of chemistry that you would like, the solubility of it, or how easy is it to be digested, and what kind of proteins it would interact with, and either activate or inhibit, what kind of properties for storage, maybe you would like it to require no refrigeration, what kind of properties it could be ingested instead of taken as using injection versus taken as a pill. And so all the various properties that you would like this chemical to have, you could describe in words. And you might even say, using this particular chemical as a starting point, using this particular medicine as a starting point, what are all the other like proteins that it could interact with? And so that would be exactly the same as prompt, generate something. You're going to see a lot of these type of examples, and many companies are now being created for essentially generation of chemicals, generation of proteins, which is the same ideas conceptually the same as generation of a story, generation of an image, generation of music, etc.
I would say amen to that, but I think there's just a asterisk here. Hopefully we'll be able to regulate against someone prompting the creation of a chemical weapon or something that is going to cause destruction. Usually I'm with the opportunists. I think you are too. But we have to also acknowledge that there are probably some challenges that will arise because of AI. I know that the crowd might kill me if I don't give them a chance to ask some questions, but I'd like to ask one final question before moving to the crowd. Every single great artist, every single great creator has a creation that he favors more than his others. So if you ask, for example, Enzo Ferrari, there's a specific car that he thinks is the greatest car he has created. We have your competing viewpoints, H100, A100, different GPUs that you guys created that were the greatest. In your opinion, which is the greatest and why?
I'll choose two. The two. I'm very fortunate. Most people in the world don't get to say what I'm about to say. The invention, the creation that I'm most proud of is my family, and I'm very happy about Very few people live. Very few people have joy that emanates from their family as I do, and it's the first thing that happens for me in the morning. All day long, I'm being surrounded by my text, my family texting me, and showing me pictures of dogs and lunches and whatever they read, and our family is very close, and I'm very, very, very proud of that, and I'm very grateful for that. And that can't happen without an amazing spouse, in my case, my wife. And I met her when I was 17 years old, and I'm 61 now, and so it has been a great source of pride and joy for me. And so that would be number one. The second, I would say is NVIDIA, not the product. Any of the products, but the machinery that creates the products. If you look at what NVIDIA has become, this is a giant system. It's a machinery. It's a creation system that is enriched with incredible people, a really vibrant culture, and a never-ending amount of aspiration and desire to invent the future. And this machinery, as people that have known our company for a long time, has repeatedly invented one thing after another thing after another thing. And we've contributed to one industry after another. And very few companies in the world can you say they are a technology leader in healthcare, in digital biology, to climate technology, to artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, and video games. They're really good at video games. This scope for a company, it just doesn't exist. From consumers to deep science to the world's businesses. And so I'm very proud of what the machinery that we've built that enables all of these products and capabilities to be formed.
Amazing. So we have time for 2 questions maybe from the crowd. Can we take that question over there?
My question to you, NVIDIA, since the founding days, was backed by the infrastructure and enabling companies in deep thinking, learning, and etc. Today, with the size of NVIDIA nowadays is really huge and big, how you control, what's your plan on controlling the use cases, especially of the application of using the superpower and the capabilities that NVIDIA's empower them?
Yeah, so I really appreciate that. There were a couple of points that you made, and let me reemphasize some of it. In a very large way, we're somewhere between the 3rd and 4th chapter of our company. We started out creating accelerated computing for computers, and a computer during the era that we started was a PC. And so NVIDIA GPUs went into a PC, and we were able to reach a few 100 million people. Maybe 15 years into it, I realized that the future computer was not going to be a PC, that the computer of the future was going to be an entire data center, that the data center was going to be a computer, that when in the beginning, a software programmer would program one computer, one PC, but a software programmer someday, and we're seeing it now, one software engineer can write a program that turns on and activates every single node inside of the large data center. It's a miracle. And so we were smart to realize that the entire data center was going to be a computer. And we became a networking company, and what NVIDIA builds today looks like a supercomputer. When you ask me what do we make, in my mind is not a GPU that is a chip. In my mind is a data center that we manufacture in high volume. We wanted to make our company even more accessible to everyone. And this is where your journey and my journey kind of intersect. NVIDIA today is no longer just accelerated computing company, accelerated computing data center company, but we're venturing into and becoming an accelerated cloud computing company. And this is what Omar was mentioning earlier. By being a cloud computing company, we could reach literally everybody. And so this is about really completely transforming accelerated computing, the future of computing with accelerated computing. In that entire journey, what makes NVIDIA special is that somehow we've created a business model where we are a singularly pure tech company. NVIDIA is an AI computing company, we're an AI company, but we're the only AI company in the world that is pure tech. We have no end market solution, we have no end market, we don't make cars, we don't make game consoles, we help people make cars, we help people make game consoles. We don't actually deliver a cloud service, we help other people deliver cloud services. And so the choice of the customers that we work with has to be thoughtful. We have to make sure that we work with customers who are also building solutions that are good for humanity. And we do that to the best of our ability. You know, we don't see every single customer. Our products are used very, very broadly. But we encourage the positive usage of technology. And it puts burden on companies like yourself to make sure that you apply technology in a good way. And we have to evangelize, promote, advocate for good use of technology. And as far as I can see, almost the vast majority, you know, with almost 0%, very, very small exceptions, are the application of NVIDIA's technology, and, you know, used for incredibly good ways. And so, but you're absolutely right. You have to have guardrails. You have to be sensible about, and you have to apply technology for good.
The UAE is in a very unique position. It's able to work with everyone without alienating anyone. I think if the UAE was a tech company, it's probably going to be very similar to NVIDIA. NVIDIA works across the stack with everyone and really provides the fundamental technology that's going to drive the revolution moving forward. So I think that's why we see eye to eye on many things, and I appreciate that answer. Do we have one other question? Can we go to the right side this time? Someone there? I can't see either.
Yes, hello. My name is Ahmed Gamal. I'm working for Advanced Integration, NVIDIA partner. We are building the NVIDIA AI infrastructure for our customer and giving the surrounding concerns regarding the climate change and its effect in different industry, including technology. How climate change can affect the AI infrastructure in the future?
Yeah, great question. First, accelerated computing is the best form of sustainable computing. We should accelerate everything we can. Anybody who's using data processing in your company, and every company is using data processing in some way, it is vital that you accelerate it. When you accelerate computing, you improve its performance by 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes several hundred times. And when you do that, and the amount of cost wasn't several hundred times, the amount of energy wasn't several hundred times, then you obviously made computing more efficient. Accelerated computing is unquestionably the most energy efficient, cost efficient, resource efficient way of doing computing. You must do that. That's number one. Accelerated computing also makes possible the computation of mathematics or the prediction of complicated worlds in a way that wasn't imaginable in the past. So let me give you an example. In another 6 weeks or so, we have GTC, and I'm going to be talking about many new initiatives, many new ideas, new technologies, new products. And some of the things I'm going to talk about are new fields of science that are finally enabled as a result of this accelerated computing and AI. And so one of the areas that I'm very proud of is the work that we're doing in climate tech, climate science. We have a digital twin of Earth. We're trying to create a digital twin of Earth's climate. Well, in order to do that, and we want to do it at very high resolution, meaning we want to do it in a way that regional areas could predict weather and at the global scale predict climate decades out. In order to do that, the resolution has to increase tremendously. Well, Earth's physics is a four-dimensional problem. It's three-dimensional atmosphere. You have to. It's also multi-physics, atmospheric physics, ice physics, land physics, oceanic physics. And so all of these physics has to be considered into the future, do weather prediction, which needs less of it, but climate prediction needs all of it. And so in order to do this, the amount of computation that we need to do is several billion times more. Well, several billion times more is achievable. It's just that we have to wait another 50 years or so. And so we want to create a time machine that allows us to have the level of computation that we will have naturally in 50 years, but we would like to have it today, a time machine. And so some of that work is now possible because of accelerated computing. And so if we care about sustainable computing, we must all move very aggressively to accelerated computing. Now, I've been advocating for this for some time, but it wasn't until recently, all of a sudden, there's a new application that was made possible by accelerated computing called generative AI that has the ability to not only save money, economics really has a natural way of incentivizing entire industries and companies. Accelerated computing has always been known to save money, save energy. Saving things is incentivizing. It's saving things is motivating. However, the ability to generate content has turbocharged the use of accelerated computing all over the world. And so please accelerate everything that you do. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank you for your partnership. And Minister is absolutely true. This region is relatively a small region by population, but you are a giant region by your influence.
And ambition. And ambition as well.
And ambition, exactly. And in a lot of ways, NVIDIA is the same. We're a small company by population. We're a small company by employees. But we're proud of the fact that we have large footprint and large impact based on the contributions that we make. And that's all because of the people that are here. And I want to thank all of you for engaging artificial intelligence. I want to thank all of you for being a partner to our company. Thank you.